How's it going, YouTube? And as of recording this, it is Christmas, so Merry Christmas to those that celebrate it, and Happy Holiday Season to everyone that's watching this video. In today's video, we're going to be talking through a lot of the changes. I'm not going to make a big 40-minute video talking through every single change of all the healers that's coming in 11.1. Instead, we're just going to kind of brush over each one and talk about the winners and losers of this set of patch notes. Now, I want to make one thing clear up front. There are so many patch notes, so it's really hard to kind of decode which ones are truly winning and losing. However, in my opinion, which is what this video is basically an opinion video, I think there's only one real loser, if I'm being totally honest. There are some that are gaining a ton, there are some that are gaining a little bit, but there's only one that's really, in my opinion, just like going downhill, or just like changes that are a step in the wrong direction. So there are going to be a lot of winners. So I'm going to split them up into like which ones are like really winning in the winning category, the one that's losing, and then the ones that are kind of middle of the pack. They are actively gaining stuff. Like it looks like it's a step in the right direction, but it might not be as big of a step as the other three. And once again, this is my opinion. We're going to talk about all 7 healer specs. So let's start off with the first winner, and I'm going to start off with the Mistweaver monks. Look, Mistweaver has had one very big weakness. You guys know me, I love Mistweaver monk. It's my main spec. But one of the biggest feedbacks of why I think you guys often don't play the spec, like one thing that I hear a lot is, I'm not going to play the spec because it doesn't feel as good when you're fighting a single target, when you're fighting a boss, especially in Mythic Plus, because your kicks really scale off having that full 3 targets to cleave off of. But now they're baking more, they're kind of condensing the damage of Blackout Kick into a single target while also changing how Chi-Ji works. You're going to get basically the full mastery value on a single target than you would with 3 targets. So they're really just, chiseling out the kinks and getting rid of one of your weaknesses. And then also on top of that, Jade Empowerment, one of the most loved abilities that's come in Dragonflight, or I'm sorry, in the War Within, across all specs in the game, it was also scaling off of your AoE targets that you can hit. So having it also be just buffed to the nines versus single target, all of these changes are excellent. Also, shout out to my PvP people. We basically have a lay on hands now if you want to, but for us PvE players, I doubt we're going to take this because it does change one of our 5-man healing spells. All in all, super sick. I'm not going to really touch on their tier set too much because it really scales off of how strong insurance is, so we just don't know yet. But all in all, these changes, like, this is probably the most excited myself and a lot of you guys have been reading a patch notes if you're a Mistweaver player. All right, moving on to the next win, we are going to talk about Holy Priest. Look, there are a ton of changes. I mean, like, so many changes. But let's start with like what might be scary, and that's that they're losing a lot of very iconic Holy Priest talents, like Circle of Healing. They're losing Holy Word Salve. They're losing Pontifex. However, I promise you, this is all a good thing. Like, it's very good, trust me. They're losing a lot of very iconic things, but they're condensing everything and really refining what they're trying to do. And I think a big win, probably the biggest win in my opinion, just from something that I've loved about Holy Priest in the past, is that they're getting one of their old, like, good tier sets basically as a talent. So whenever you Holy Word Serenity or Sanctify the Ground on people, you're just going to apply Renew to them, which is really good. I think that's really good because it enables you to get use out of the Renew synergies in the kit while not having to go around and blanket the raid or the party in Renews, because that feels so bad to do in a Mythic Plus environment, trying to stay on top of your prayer of mendings. Then, like, if you know damage is coming, it's like, well, I kind of have to press Renew here if everyone's at full health and about to take damage, and it just feels so bad because Renew just felt kind of lackluster, not worth the global cooldown. But this is very good. It's going to be a way to enable Renew synergies without actually having to go in and press the spell. Also, one thing that feels so bad when you play Holy Priest is just how weak of an AoE heal Sanctify is. It already requires people to be stacked, which isn't really a problem in Raid. You can almost always hit the target count for this. But in Mythic Plus, it feels so bad when like everyone's so spread and then they finally stack up. You press Sanctify and it barely touches their health bar. So applying a Renew, but also doing more healing if you take this talent is also going to be very nice. Now, something that I'm very excited about, since I love Trail of Light, is that they're gaining buffs to the Trail of Light playstyle. The Trail of Light, like Light Weaver playstyle. So Dispersing Light's a new talent. So 6% of the healing you do when you single target heal someone is going to be cleaved onto 4 injured allies. So now you're just healing a single target, you're healing around, and you're cleaving onto 4 injured allies. Look, it's only 6%, but it's really cool. This is basically like a hot that's going to be happening since you're always kind of healing a single target. And then that coupled with the changes to Lightweaver. Lightweaver can also be consumed by Prayer of Healing, which we'll kind of talk about Prayer of Healing in a second. And then Lightweaver now also can accumulate up to 4 charges. So you can, if you know damage is coming, you can kind of flash heal 4 times and save up 4 charges of Lightweaver. And then the big AoE damage hits, you can use 1 on Prayer of Healing, and then the next 3 on heals, like all at once. Super cool changes in my opinion, just buffing up Lightweaver. I love this talent. I love playing around it. And then also Trail of Light. God, there's so many changes. I have to like look for them. Trail of Light's healing replication is also getting buffed. Super cool in my opinion. Now, where this gets weird is when they remove Circle of Healing. They're kind of removing it so that they can add more of its power into Prayer of Healing, which I really like. It felt very bad having 2 AoE healing spells and kind of not being able to buff either of them, because the moment you buff like both of them, it just kind of gets out of hand with the AoE healing, so they always would nerf it, then buff it, then nerf it, then buff it. So it feels really good. Now we only have 1 that we have to watch, and it's on a cooldown, so very good in my opinion, baking more power into Prayer of Healing. So all in all, a lot of changes also to your Apotheosis. They're reducing the overall healing of Holy Priest, but you're gaining more healing thanks to your tier set. I guess I can pull that up. You're gaining more healing in your Apotheosis, because you're going to be gaining a lot more insurance buffs, and you gain just a base scaler off of how many insurance buffs you have. So yeah, they're getting an 8% healing reduction, but a lot more power is going to be baked into your Apotheosis, which now you can extend. Where even is it? God, there's so many changes. You can extend your Apotheosis. Your Holy Words extend the duration of your Apotheosis. And then on top of that, like another big change that will impact your Apotheosis windows, which should be longer now, just you might have them less often, but they're going to be longer, is your Cosmic Ripple. Cosmic Ripple is just a pulse heal that you shoot out around you whenever one of your Holy Words comes off cooldown, which is what Apotheosis is all about, cycling those Holy Words, trying to get them off cooldown, use them, off cooldown, then use them. Cosmic Ripple is getting a buff, a pretty big one too. So right now on my Holy Priest, it's only healing for like 40k. So now it's going to heal for like 100k. So we take those, and you're going to be cycling those Holy Words and just getting them, getting pulses of healing. Your AoE healing is going to be a little bit better, is what it looks like, which is just a huge weakness of Holy Priest. Like I am trying to heal even in Aura Kara, that call to the Broodmother or whatever that spell is so hard to heal, because you just don't have that many options for AoE healing. So now maybe you can take the 5-man healing spell and 5-man content. I don't know. Will this all make Holy Priest like meta? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe in raids, maybe because they're going to be just having Giga Apotheosises, but they won't have Salve. Maybe. However, time will tell. There are just so many changes. It's so hard to predict without being able to get in there. But I think overall, it's pretty safe to say this is a nice win. A win in my book. Okay, now let's talk about one of the middle of the pack healers. And once again, these are healers that are actively gaining. It just isn't as much as the other healers. God, these patch notes are so long. I like it. I like to see long patch notes, but we're going to be talking about Druid. Now there are a ton of baseline talent tree changes coming to Hunter, or I'm coming to Druid, that are good. Like they're really making their Druid talent tree go from the worst, class tree in the game to like an actually very good one. However, they're really shifting around the damage, which is kind of what Resto Druid brings to the table. And it looks like we're going to have to see the tree once it finally becomes live. It looks like you're going to have to put more talent nodes into damage if you want to do damage, which, isn't that great. However, they are buffing the cooldowns because, and even in Raid, they just are not much of a cooldown spec. They don't have the strongest cooldowns in the game. Very good cooldowns, not the strongest. So Flourish is now going to do like an initial heal effect, kind of like it used to do. It used to do like a heal and then also amplify onto a single target or whatever. But it's going to split evenly among them, so it's probably going to be more powerful in Mythic Plus, and then it's just probably going to do like a nice little, tiny little heal in a raid environment, if I had to guess. So that is pretty cool. It's just gaining an effect on top of Flourish. We like that. Tranquility, channel time now reduced to 5 seconds from 8 seconds. Now, it's going to do the same amount of healing, just in a lesser amount of time. However, now that I'm thinking about it, you will get 3 more seconds that you get to cast other spells. So maybe you Trank for 5 seconds, and then you get to Wild Growth right after, and then Flourish right after, and that can fill those other 3 seconds. So yeah, now that I'm saying that, this likely is going to be a buff in all scenarios. So very good. But what's really changing is they're changing their mastery. So their mastery is going to be stronger. But it's going to reduce its effectiveness beyond like a certain target cap. So you're gonna like, the more mastery, the more hots you have on a target, the less effective your mastery is going to be. So with 1 hot or 1 or 2 hots on someone, it's going to be very strong. But this does look like it's going to be like a nerf to something like the talent. Your life bloom counts as 3 mastery ticks. So that tank healing aspect of just trying to stack a bunch of hots on your tank, just let those be rolling, doing a ton of healing, that looks like it's going to get nerfed. But something like Germination and Raid, where you're having like all these rejuves, like a single rejuve plus your efflorescence down, plus like your wild growths, all of those are going to be a little bit better, it looks like. So I don't know, this to me reads as like a buff, but a nerf to tank healing, I guess, is the only thing that I can think of. However, one of the biggest changes that I think is easy to miss, it's easy to sleep on, is that Nature Swiftness now increases the healing of regrowth by 200%. Now, this is very good. It's doubling the effectiveness or the buff that Nature Swiftness gives to regrowth, because this is going to help their shock healing, which is very, very much needed on Resto Druid. But unless I'm missing something, what you can do now is you can press Nature Swiftness, press Convoke, and then any regrowths cast during that Convoke will also be buffed by Nature Swiftness, and then you still get to press Regrowth after that Convoke to still get its buff on that Regrowth. So if that interaction stays intact, this is actually going to be a huge buff, especially for Mythic Plus. So hopefully they don't gut that interaction, because very cool. But like I said, they are gaining. Just you'll see there are some changes, like the Mistweaver ones, where it's like, man, it is an exciting change. Now let's talk about the next middle of the pack one, and let's go all the way down here to Shaman. Now, Shaman's is going to be weird. It's going to take some adjusting, in my opinion. Once again, I don't think these are bad changes. I think this is a net positive. However, I don't think it's just as high as the wins. I've said it 1,000 times, but Ancestral Guidance is being removed. This is a cooldown. We use this as a throughput cooldown. So removing a throughput cooldown on the surface sounds kind of bad, but to be fair, this was one of the weaker ones, and it kind of, like they said here, it basically does the same thing as Ascendance. In most cases, just had a weaker effect, so you'd likely just stack them on top of each other. But you could alternate them or just pair like Ancestral Guidance with like multiple totems or something. So they are removing that. They're also removing, I'm not going to call it a cooldown because I know I'll get roasted, but they're removing a spell that people hate. People roasted me for playing Primordial Wave, which a lot of people are going to be happy about. I'm also kind of getting to the point where I'm tired of this spell just being in the game. I think it is very boring. However, they're kind of making it a passive in a way, but a really cool way. So Whispering Waves, 10% of Healing Waves healing is going to be duplicated onto each of your targets with Riptide. Now, this doesn't read like it's capped. It doesn't read like Invigorating Mist for Monk, where your Vivifies cleave onto everyone with Renewing Mist, but at a lesser effect beyond 5 targets. This just reads that your Healing Waves are kind of gonna be cleaving. It's only 10% of its healing, but they're gonna be cleaving is what it reads like. So the more Riptides you can have out, the better this is. I wish it worked like that for us monks. But yeah, this is a sick talent, a very sick talent. You can get to some high Riptide counts, and I really like that. Now, they are removing Mana Tide and baking it into Healing Tide Totem, which is good. It's one less button you have to press, which is fine. However, Mana Tide did proc a Chain Heal, as far as I remember, on Totemic Shaman, so you're missing out on one free Chain Heal that you get. But I think less buttons is one thing that has been a big criticism for Shaman lately, especially. So that is, in my opinion, an overall pretty nice change. I think it's going to work out to be pretty well received. Now, I don't know how to say this, but Earth Shield and Water Shield no longer lose charges and are 115% effective. Now, look, this is a talent, so this is not baseline. But man, how often, how many globals in a dungeon do you spend reapplying Earth Shield to the tank? I probably will take this talent just for convenience, and also Earth Shield just getting a buff here with this talent. I like this. I like Whispering Waves. I think this is a very cool set of changes. I'm excited to see how they implement this into the game and how it feels and affects the play style. But I don't think this is like, whoa, like I can't wait to play my shaman. I think we're there right now in season one. I love playing my shaman, and these don't really hype it up even more. So that's why it lands in this kind of like middle of the pack category. All right, next up, let's talk about what I think is the big loser of this patch notes. Man, those enhancement shaman ones, I get carpal tunnel just scrolling past them. The big loser is Paladin, in my opinion. Look, I could be missing something, but the last time I checked, a lot of Holy Paladins throughout Dragonflight were like, I am so tired of caster Paladin. Just make me not cast spells. I want to be smacking things. And they've like a lot of people that I've talked to, and even myself, I have thoroughly loved Avenging Crusader Paladin being back. I have absolutely enjoyed playing it. Lightsmith is super fun. And I think the overall sentiment this past season has been like, look, Paladin is not broken. In fact, it was in Break the Meta. It is not broken. It's not bad. It's like perfection. Okay, it's so much fun to play while also not feeling like you're abusing something. That's just what I've heard from a lot of people. It's just in a fun spot right now, a good spot. It's a good time. People who main it are happy. People that didn't main it aren't mad they didn't main it, but might have regretted it in some cases. I don't know. But the changes make me scratch my head, and I know they're changing a lot of the power to the casted spells. So, and whenever you get your Infusion of Light procs, that was the time that you would cast your like Holy Light. You would never really cast Holy Light outside of that, as far as I know, unless you just have nothing else to do and you're trying to pull up your like Crusader Strike and your Judgment. You're like trying to pull up resources. You would just only cast Holy Light when you have Infusion of Light. So they're taking some of the power out of Infusion of Light with your casted heals and baking them into baseline by buffing those casted heals, which is like, look, on paper it's good. If you did this with like any spec, taking something out of like a proc effect, taking power out of a proc effect and putting it baseline, in most cases people would be happy. But my concern here is that they're gonna just go back to like, it's gonna be good to play just Holy Light spam, Flash of Light spam, and Raid again, kind of like it was. What was it, season 3 of Dragonflight? I worry for the Holy Paladins because a lot of people did not enjoy that. Now, some people did, and for those people, if that's the case, if that's the route we go, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're getting this play style back or this option back. I like there to be plenty of options, but my worry is people who have really enjoyed this punch kick style of Paladin are going to kind of be forced to play what's good, and that is Caster Monk. Kind of like what's been, I just said Caster Monk, but Paladin, which is kind of what's happened to Monk, where a lot of people are like, dude, I just want to play Chi-Ji in Raid, but, you know, I can't because it does way less healing. So that is my worry here. However, if you've been watching my series where I take all the healers to KSH this season, we just finished the Paladin, spoiler alert, but we just finished the Paladin, and my favorite interaction in the whole entire kit was Hammer and Anvil. When you take Lightsmith, whenever your judgments crit, whenever you throw a hammer at someone and it crits, you just pulse out a giant, like 500,000 non-crit, or like over 1,000,000 crit heal to everyone like in melee. It was so sick. It was so good when you had your Beacon of Virtue on people. It was so much fun. It was really fun, like rolling a dice every time you judgment. Be like, please crit. Like, I loved this. And they're reducing its healing. It was the most fun thing in the kit. I guess that's just my opinion, but that's what this whole video is. But they're reducing its healing. Ah, come on. Now it's just going to be like a passive thing. But here it's like they're taking power out of judgment. Ah, that feels bad. And then on top of that, not only that, nail in the coffin is Blessed Assurance is now only going to increase the Crusader Strike damage by 20%, was 180%. So they're really just hitting Avenging Crusader. And it's just, oh, it's so sad. You're going to be doing less damage. You're going to be doing less healing. You're going to be doing less healing based on your damage. So it's like, oh man. And there's like a chance. I don't know how big the chance is, but you might go back to caster Paladin. I don't know. Look, maybe I'm missing something. I fully admit I am not a Paladin main. I can't fully speak for everyone, but as someone who is on the outside looking in and has played some Paladin, these are just my worries for you guys. So I don't want anyone to get their pitchforks ready, trying to cancel me because I'm talking bad about Paladin. I'm not. I'm concerned. I'm worried for you guys. I want you guys to have the best. That's kind of what this is. I want you guys to not get pushed into the wrong direction. So hopefully this all works out. Hopefully this is good and I'm just wrong, for your guys' sake. But yeah, they are the big loser in my opinion coming into 11.1. All right, what's left? We have Disc Priest and Evoker left. So let's talk about Disc Priest first. Are they in the winner or the mid category? I actually have them in the mid category, and I can't wait to explain why Evoker I think is in the winner category. Because I feel like that's definitely going to get me canceled. But where is Priest? What's the alphabet? Okay. Disc Priest is getting a lot of weird changes, just like Holy Priest. They're losing some pretty iconic talents. Rapture. They are buffing Power Word Shield, but they're losing Rapture, which is crazy to me. They also said that they want to reduce the amount of cooldowns that you have to press, which I think they worded it incorrectly because they're buffing some of the cooldowns, like Evangelism, which is nice. They're buffing Ultimate Penitence, which is nice. And they're not buffing it like it already does insane healing. No one's arguing that. The problem with Ultimate Penitence is that it gets you killed. Like, I've pressed this button probably 20 times in my life. It's gotten me killed like 8 of those times, which is not good because you're just locked into place and then you land into a swirly if one spawns under you. So you're gaining tankiness while you're in your Ultimate Penitence, which is good. They're also gaining damage to Smite, which is good. It's good, but some of the changes with Smite are concerning. So the biggest one, Void Summoner now only triggers from Mind Blast and Penance, which before it triggered from those two spells and Smite, this is what reduces your cooldown of your Summoner. They are buffing how much of that cooldown is being reduced. So whenever you Penance, you're going to take away 4 seconds of your Mindbender. However, your Smite spams no longer also reward you for by giving you time off of your Mindbender, which is not great. It's not great for a power standpoint, but I do think this is a healthy change. Instead of basically the more haste you have, the more uptime you have, you'll kind of still have that, but this will reward your decision making on when you press Mindbender a bit more, and I think that is important for the longevity of the health of the spec. Also, worth noting on this same topic, Train of Thought is also getting removed, which if you don't know what Train of Thought is, this is where the bottom line, Smite reduces the cooldown of Penance by half a second. So Smite spam, you're probably thinking, oh, well, Smite spam will also kind of shave time off of your Voidbender in a second-hand way because it'll shave time off of your Penance, which does still shave time off your Voidbender, or Mindbender. It doesn't, you're losing that talent now, which is, to me, that one's also weird. That's like a double whammy on the reduction of your Mindbender. But you are gaining, like I said, you're gaining power to your Ultimate Penitence. Hopefully it's fine. That spell is so cool. We miss our uppies. I wish we could play it. Luminous Barrier is also getting a small buff. And then I think the coolest thing coming to Disc Priest that I am personally most excited about, they're removing Purge the Wicked, and they're just changing it to where instead of replacing your Shadow Word Pain with just a stronger dot, now your Shadow Word Pain, if you do take what is now replacing Purge the Wicked, it is just going to basically spread onto enemies. So I guess how it's going to work is it's gonna plague. So like this is just what I'm guessing. If you put your Shadow Word Pain on one target, just as it ticks, it's going to have a chance to like spread on more or on more enemies. Stacked on top of the fact that your penance is going to be spreading this, so you're still going to have to spread your dot, but you'll have to do less work for it. And to me, it just didn't make sense. Like, hey, you can talent into this to have a stronger dot or not. Now it's going to do like more things. It's going to have an AoE component. They're also just buffing its base power for like single target fights, so raid fights. Very cool changes. I think it just I personally I'm gonna have to get in and see what Disc Priest is like without Rapture, with what looks to be like less Void Summoner procs or less Mindbender now. I'm gonna have to get in and see because we really are spoiled right now with how quickly you can reset your Mindbender with given enough haste with your smite spams. But I will say, yeah, your smite spam is losing value from reducing time off your Mindbender, but just like Holy Priest, they're kind of bringing back part of a really beloved tier set. Smite now will extend the duration of a single atonement. So if you are smite spamming, it's still worth it to do because you're going to be extending those atonements and having to press your radiance less often. So look, don't get me wrong, I do think these are net positives. Given that the Mindbender reduction doesn't gut the class like I'm concerned it possibly could. I don't think it will, but there is a small chance that this could really hurt the class, in my opinion, in terms of power level. So I couldn't put it in the winners category for that reason, especially over Evoker. Now, Evoker is in this weird realm where it's not bad, it's not great, it's kind of in that middle of the pack healers realm, but it suffers greatly to a couple of small restraints. Now, Flame Shaper has kind of fallen out of favor in Mythic Plus ever since it got gutted because of the crimes it did to the Race the World First, but it's gaining some pretty interesting changes that I think will be very good in Mythic Plus. For starters, you're going to be able to reduce the cooldown of your Dream Breath instead of trying to spread it, which didn't make sense in a Mythic Plus environment. Also, you're gaining a pretty nice buff to your Dream Breath, which you're going to, once again, be able to press more often, where your Dream Breath is now not only going to heal 6 targets, one of those targets is going to be guaranteed to be yourself, which is so important for your mastery. So important for your mastery. You're trying to keep your health percentage above everyone else's so that when you heal them, you heal for more. So very nice change, but also it's just a buff to the healing it's doing. As long as I'm not reading this incorrectly, it is just a buff to the healing you're doing. So all of that is like nice, but you'll notice it's just a small, it's a very small list of changes, right? Oh, also, I forgot to mention this. Engulf is now hasted, so the more haste you have, the more engulfs you'll be able to do in a Mythic Plus environment. That is also very sick. But like I was saying, this is a very small list. So Chris, how did this land in the winner category on Christmas? How did this happen? Why did you put this over Disc? Why did you put this over like Shaman? Why? Well, if you think about Prez Evoker, what is one reason why they just aren't gonna be meta until they're broken? And that is Augmentation Evoker. They share a class with Augmentation Evoker. So as long as Augmentation is meta, then it's going to be way more hard for Prez to be meta because they are competing for a spot in a group with their fellow augmentations. There is a huge nerf coming to Augmentation to where now their Ebon Might, which just gives main stat, will no longer affect tanks and healers. So it's not going to make your tanks tankier. It's not going to make your healies healier. I don't know. But you're buffing this. They would buff the survivability of the group. And just in high-end keys, that's just so good that it was kind of shoving preservation out of relevance by even more than they already were kind of doing themselves. Oop, just spilled a drink. So the nerfing of Prez, the nerfing of Aug, I could not put preservation in the winners category when they're actively gaining some amount of good, and on top of that, augmentation's getting nerfed. Now, I'm not going to say I don't want the augmentation mains to come after me. I feel for you guys, trust me. But you've had your time at the top. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. But that's going to do it for my list. I think the true winners, the full on winners, are Monk, Holy Priest, and Evoker just because of that augmentation nerf. The only loser is Holy Paladin, in my opinion, because they're bringing back some things that a lot of people did not enjoy, or they're risking bringing that back while also actively taking away power from what people have enjoyed recently. And then the middle of the pack, in my opinion, the ones that are gaining but risk some losses are Disc Priest, Resto Druid, and Resto Shaman. Once again, they are all gaining, but they risk losing. Please don't cancel me. I'm so sorry if I talked bad about your spec. I say negative things about your spec because I care. I really do. You guys know me. I play every spec and I want to enjoy every spec. So whenever I dog on how bad something looks for one spec, it's not because I don't like you as a person. I like you as a person, especially on Christmas. I just want you to enjoy the game as much as I do. That's it. It all comes from a place of love. I promise. Once again, I hope you all enjoy your holiday season. I will see you guys once I return from seeing my wife's family. I'm very much looking forward to this time with family that we don't get to see often. So I hope you guys also share some fun experiences over the holidays. I hope you get some good quality family time. If you still do gift exchanges, if you celebrate Christmas and do gift exchanges, I hope those go well. Whatever holiday you guys celebrate, if any at all, I hope they're just full of love and happiness. And I cannot thank you enough. You guys have given me the best present anyone can ask for. You guys are really making my dream come true. I can't say it enough. Ever since I was a kid, I wished that I could just do YouTube. I would watch Clash of Clans videos and like Magic videos and just be like, man, I envy these guys. Like, I just want to do this. They look so happy. That is like my dream. So I would record these videos of me as a child just teaching someone how to do like Clash of Clans raids or something. And I never posted them. But one day I decided to post a Mistweaver video, and you guys watched it, and you guys are still here supporting me, and I cannot be more grateful. You've seriously made my life so much better over this past year of being full time, and I can't thank you enough. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here before I start crying because it's making me sappy. Like, you guys mean the world to me, and I can't thank you enough. I can say that 1,000 times because I just can't. There's no amount of saying thank you that I can do to express how grateful I am for each and every single one of you for supporting me this year. Here's to 2025. I don't know if I'm going to have many videos queued up before 2025. So if I don't, I will see you guys next year. Thank you so much for watching this video. A special thank you to the patrons that keep this channel alive, keep my dreams alive. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are incredible and really do just support this channel so much. Thank you all so much. I'll see you guys next year. Until then, take care.